Alrighty, welcome back to my channel, May Between the Pages. My name is Taylor, and today we're going to be doing part 3 of my Unbox My Library series. If you haven't seen the first 2 parts of this series, my family and I moved from Japan to the States about 3 months ago now, and our life was not with us when we first arrived. It was on a boat that was making its way across the world, and that boat has now arrived. And part of that life that we were waiting to arrive was my entire library that I had in Japan. A lot of the books behind me were in my US library, and I'd collected them slowly over the years. But now I am unboxing one book box at a time with you all, each video. And we're going to go through them, decide which ones are going to go on the shelves behind me and which ones are going to go into storage for later. Because right now, all I really have is this corner bookshelf here with 5 different shelves. And I need to be picky about which books I put on here right now. Now, I had individually wrapped each book when I was packing up our belongings, but the moving company is who actually put them in the boxes, so I don't know what's in each box. So we're gonna find out together. All right, let's see. Ooh, okay, this one looks like a stacked box. There's gonna be a lot in here. I've got my handy dandy carrot scissors to cut into these covers. So let's get started. The first one I see here is Alloy of Law from Mistborn Era 2. If you've been around my channel, you know that I'm a Mistborn Era 2 lover. I am not a fan of the first Mistborn series. Not a fan is dramatic. There's a lot that I didn't enjoy about it. I do think the magic system is amazing, and I think that the premise of the story and the general plot is interesting. But the characters themselves did not do it for me, especially the second book. It's not my favorite. However, Mistborn Era 2 I adore. But I can see why people don't like Era 2 if they loved Era 1, because it is a hard left. There's besides the magic system, there's pretty much nothing similar about these series. And also, if you don't like Wayne in this series, then I can see you not liking it at all, but I happen to love him. So this is an exciting first one to unbox. I do think I'm gonna put these on the shelves. Now, there is a dilemma that I'm facing, okay? My life is very difficult. I have the beautiful leather-bound editions of the first 2 books of the Stormlight Archive, Warbreaker, Elantris, and then all of the secret projects in the corner here. And these have a very specific theme to them, a very specific vibe. And I do have the UK hardcover editions of Stormlight that match these paperbacks, but I would prefer to display these beautiful, leather-bound editions. So I do think I'm going to put the paperback collection on my shelves. It just won't match the rest of the Sanderson books I have on there. So basically my life is really difficult, and I need to figure out how I'm going to arrange it to make it aesthetically pleasing. Next, we have The Girl and the Stars by Mark Lawrence. Now, this is a very interesting book for me. Okay, before I read the, the Book of the Ancestor, that's it. Before I read that trilogy, so it's like Red Sister, Gray Sister, and, Red Sister, Gray Sister, and Holy Sister. Before I read that, I was sold on the premise of that series, and I got caught up in the frenzy of this book being released, which is the first of the second trilogy. And while I was caught up in my excitement to read that series, this book was also coming out, which is the first in another trilogy. And I love this UK edition. I didn't want to miss the chance to get the hardback. And I just so happened to also, I think, have the hardback of the US edition in here as well. Then I read the Book of the Ancestor, and it was a consistently 3-star series for me. I love the concepts. The fight scenes are incredible, and I also really like the magic system. But you can tell that Lawrence has never been a young girl making friends, because a large premise of that story is that our main character makes friends and enemies, but while in this school setting. And then later, those friendships are a linchpin point for several plot points, big plot points, and I didn't buy the friendships when they were created, and so I didn't buy them later in the series. So that character work was just a huge hole for me in the series. But I do like the premise, and I also read The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Lawrence and gave that 5 stars. So I have 2 versions of this book, 2 editions. I haven't read it, but I do think based on reading The Book That Wouldn't Burn, I would like to give this series a shot. I don't need both editions of it, so later on I'll have to decide which one I'm going to keep and try to collect the rest of, because I did not continue collecting the series when subsequent editions came out. But I'll decide which one I want to keep. This is the UK version. Very beautiful. Let me see if I have, okay, so here it is. I have The Girl in the Stars. This is the US edition, which originally I liked the UK edition, but the US edition has grown on me. Something about this, I don't know. I really enjoy it. And then while we're on the Book of the Ancestor, I have the 3rd book, Holy Sister, in hardcover. The first 2 I only have in mass market. So I do think I would like to collect it just to have a matching set, because I have 1 hardback here, but I do know that Red Sister is like impossible to get your hands on now. So considering it's a 3-star series, I'm not going to kill myself for that. But I would like to hear your guys' thoughts on The Girl in the Stars. Should I prioritize it? Is it incredible? The things that I liked about Book of the Ancestor, are they present here? Are the things that I said I had an issue with, do you believe they're improved upon? I would just love to hear your thoughts, because I don't really hear anyone talk about that series. Okay, next we have Lao Zi's Dao De Jing. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments if I do it incorrectly. But this is a new interpretation for transformative time by Ken Liu. My Lord and Savior Ken Liu, as we say around here. This and The Hidden Girl are the only of his works that I haven't read yet. But I think that would be a very easy thing for me to remedy. It might be good for me to read the original first, I think, and then read Liu's interpretation of it. I think that might give me a more in-depth reading experience, but I will eventually read all of Liu's work, so no question there. Oh, I'm so excited for this next one! It's The Bitter Twins, the 2nd book in the Winnowing Flame trilogy. Now I am going to be keeping, I think, a good portion of my Broken Binding books in storage, just because I don't have room to display all of those beautiful books. And one of the reasons I keep my Broken Binding subscription, and I've kept it consistently throughout, is because they do such a good job of picking series that I've had my eye on but I haven't read yet, but I'm interested, right? So their choices really seem in tune with my interests or what catches my eye. But that means at this point that there's a fair amount of subscription books from them that I haven't read yet. So when I have such, narrowly available space behind me, I may change my filming setup so you can see more of the books. This is just what I'm doing for now. But since I do have such a narrow space available to me, I want to display books that really show my reading, what I'm interested in, my taste. And having a bunch of books I haven't read displayed behind me, while beautiful being from the Broken Binding, doesn't do that, right? So I think I'm going to keep a large portion of that collection in storage for now. But getting back to the main point here, The Winnowing Flame, one of my favorite series of all time. It is slept upon. I hate how few people have read this series. The first book, The Ninth Reign, swept through my books. I think it was 2023. It was the last book I read of the year, and it was my favorite book of the entire year. And this is a full 5-star series for me, which is rare. So best believe I will be displaying this. So let me get this out of its casing. I wrapped these almost too well. Like, they are perfectly wrapped, but I have to be so careful when getting the scissors in there. Okay, she is finally free. So here's the cover of The Bitter Twins. It is a wraparound. And then I love the naked hardcovers of these. The foiling is just gorgeous. So hopefully the first and third book are also in this box. Okay, so I had asked in a previous video, I had mentioned, okay, when I was talking about what books I had packed, that there is one book that I brought with me just because I dislike it. I hate it so much that I want to have it for reference. And I asked you guys to guess in the comments what book you thought that was. So she has now arrived, and that would be House of Sky and Breath, the second Crescent City book. I have a full rant review for this book on my channel, and it was at a 2-star when I made that rant review, but I think I might just have to drop it down to a 1 because it makes me angrier the more that I've like simmered on it. Because the first book in Crescent City is so good. That is a 5-star book. It is Mass in her bag, going for all of her strengths. Her character work is her strength. And I loved the characters and the relationships and the friendships that she established in that book. And then in this second book, she decided to do everything that is not her strength. And it was painful. It's supposed to be like a murder mystery, plot twisty story. There's this one character who's supposed to be a spy, and he must be the worst. He probably is the worst spy I have ever read in my entire life. Nothing this man did made any sense. His motivations were all over the place, and he was such a key character in this, in keeping this mystery that I just, oh my God, I really did not enjoy this book. So I brought it with me for reference, essentially. But I love the first book so much that I kind of want to display that. So I think this one might stay in storage, but I'll keep the first book on my shelves. I think that's the way this is going to have to go. I'll have that rant review linked down below if you want to see it, because obviously it was fresher in my brain and I talk much more in detail about what I disliked. But yeah, I have never had my expectations so shattered than with that series. Okay, next I have what is a gorgeous book, but I don't think I'm going to unwrap it right now, and that's Illborn from the Broken Binding Press. It is one of the first books that was released from their press, and I initially wanted to collect all of their press books, so, you know, I was getting the books as they came out. And the quality is still amazing, but my wallet just couldn't do that and the subscription, so I'm not going to be, obviously, continuing to get every book from the press. I haven't continued. But, you know, I have this one from when that was originally my goal. I have been interested in this book for a long time because I love when religion is tackled as a power structure in society in my fantasy, and that is supposed to be a main theme here. So eventually I will get to this, but it isn't super high priority right now. Okay, so I see 2 books. All 3 books from the Powder Mage trilogy. So we have the Crimson Campaign, the Autumn Republic, which are 2 and 3 respectively, and then the Promise of Blood. So again, it's not so exciting for you guys because you don't get to see the pretty books, but this is another Broken Binding series that I haven't read yet. Okay, so here is House of Earth and Blood, the first Crescent City book. So this one I would like to display, so let me get this open. Also, as we're going through here, I see a couple other Broken Binding editions in here. Let me know if there's any series I should be prioritizing, right? Because if I'm not opening it now, most likely I haven't read it yet, right? So if you've read any of these and you think I would love them, or you think they're underrated or whatever, let me know and I can bump them up the TBR. I'm not going to be buying a whole bunch of books right now just for budget reasons, so I'm going to be reading through a lot of what I already own. So it would help me a lot to have, you know, recommendations for what I should prioritize. Okay, here's House of Earth and Blood. Again, 5 stars. I adore this book. I tabbed it up. And this is also the UK edition, because the spine on the US edition, I don't know why they had it written this way. Is the ugliest, like this House of Earth and Blood is like in the middle, and then Mass is also very small. The spine is not working. This is much nicer to look at. So this is the UK edition. And you know, the other thing that really pissed me off about the second book is I spent my hard-earned money to have the UK edition shipped to me, right? Rather than the US edition shipped to my American house. Had it shipped to me all the way in Japan. It was supposed to be the special edition. It was supposed to have the foiling on the front. Tell me how it's just like white pages. Now I know y'all have the funds to block spray some Mass pages to make it match for people who bought the first book from the exact same store in the exact same edition. Don't give me that. I know you got the funds to do that. So that also really pissed me off. Okay, this is another TBB set. Or I only see 2 of them here, so I don't know where the first one is at the moment. But this is the Greenbone Saga. So we have Jade War and Jade Legacy. I have the original trilogy that I unpacked in, I think, the second video with the original covers. Now, these covers are far superior. So I'm thinking I'll display these instead. I don't know, but I like how visually the impact of the original trilogy, the spine impact anyway. I don't know. I have to decide. What should I do, guys? I'm going to keep these wrapped for the moment. And you guys let me know in the comments what you think I should do. Should I display the TBB ones or the original covers? I'm thinking TBB is the better option. But yeah, let me know. And then in the next video, after seeing the comments, or in 2 videos from now, depending on if I bulk film today, we'll see. But I'll respond to that and decide which one I display. Oh, here's the first book in the Winnowing Flame trilogy, The Ninth Reign. The prologue of this hooked me from literally the first page. It is so, I've never read a prologue like that before. It's also such a unique blend of fantasy and sci-fi. Williams, like you are not going to be able to guess where any of this story goes. And the third book had me so stressed that it took me forever to read because I actually had to put it down in the middle of reading it because I was too stressed about what was going to happen to my babies. I actually have a long-form discussion about this book with the Bookish Blackwell, who is another amazing creator. I love her channel. Her editing is just, oh, it's so good. But the 2 of us had a long-form discussion about it. And the first part of it is spoiler-free. The second part is full of spoilers. But if you're interested in hearing more about the series, what it's about, the themes that we enjoyed, you should go check that out. I'll have that link down below. But here's the first book, The Ninth Reign. And then here is the naked hardcover. I would die to get a short story or like a prequel for that series. I don't know. I feel like Williams is like done with it. I feel like she said what she wanted to say, but I would not say no to a little bit extra. If you're watching Williams, I know you're not, but you know, I wouldn't say no. Next, we have A Promised Land by Barack Obama. This might have room on my shelf. I would like to show, you know, not just the fantasy that I read, but some of the nonfiction I've read. So I think this one, I might unbox this one. So we have The Shadow of What Was Lost, An Echo of Things to Come, and The Light of All That Falls, books 1, 2, and 3 in the Licanius trilogy. This book I actually did start. I think it's been as currently reading on Goodreads for like 2 years now. I did enjoy what I'd read, but I wasn't in the mood for kind of your classic epic fantasy at the moment, so I didn't continue with it. There was nothing wrong with it. I just wasn't in the mood for that kind of read. But when I am in the mood for a more classic fantasy kind of style book, I do think that this is going to be high priority for me to pick up. Okay, so this is a book that I have 2 versions of in my hands right now, and also a 3rd version behind me. And you might not know that I love this book as much as I do, but that is The Lies of Loch Lomora by Scott Lynch. I adore this book. I read it before I really got into making videos on BookTube, so I don't think I ever like splurged about it or gushed about it because I had already read it. But I need to talk about this book more because I adore this with every piece of my soul. I love everything about this first book. The second book is also phenomenal. The third book it has a lot of the heart that I still enjoy, but it never quite reaches this level for me. But I still can't wait for The Thorn of Emberlane whenever that comes out, if that does come out. But regardless of whether that does come out, this first book stands as an all-time favorite of mine. So if you look behind me here, I have Lies of Loch Lomora, Red Seas Under Red Skies, and The Republic of Thieves. These 2 are first printing first editions. And I was trying to track down the Lies of Loch Lomora first edition. And this is before I knew how to differentiate between book club books and like first printings. So this is a book club version of the Lies of Loch Lomora. So I haven't completed my set yet. But because I love that book so much, before I had those editions, well, I tracked down those editions and had them shipped to my American house. But while I was in Japan, I had 2 more editions of this book that I bought. And this is the book that I actually read, and that is the Gallant's, was it 10th anniversary editions? This is the one that's all tabbed up, you can see there. And this is very pretty, but this material of Galances, it gets beat up so quickly. I don't know if you guys can see the corners here. The cover is kind of making it look better than it is, but this thing is beat up. And I swear, if it just like touches a surface, it gets scraped. So I'm not a big fan of this material. It is definitely just a showpiece for the shelf. And unfortunately, when Galance released a larger, nicer edition of this, again, before I had these, I decided to go for it. And it is the same material. So I never continued buying the series in this edition because I was like, I mean, you just touch it and it gets scuffed. But it is gorgeous. Like, the front is gorgeous. But they also didn't do like anything extra. There's no arch. There's no... The thing that makes it special is just the cover. So I do think I will keep this for like display purposes on my shelf, which is why I'm opening it now, but I don't think I'm going to continue this collection. And actually, as I'm opening it, I just realized that I have the broken binding edition of this series too. You know, I might have the most copies of the Lies of Locke Lamora in my entire collection, which is kind of wild to think about. Like, I think if you were to ask someone, you know, what book do you think I have the most copies of? People would think like Dandelion Dynasty, rightfully so, by Ken Liu. But I think it's the Lies of Locke Lamora. Okay, so see, yeah, looking at this, it is gorgeous. It is absolutely stunning. And now I remember why I got suckered into buying it. I mean, look at that. The foiling. Oh, it's gorgeous. But it is the exact same material as the 10th anniversary edition. So, and they do have end papers, which are also very pretty. But it's the same end papers on the back, so we don't even get like 2 art pieces for that. I don't know, and it's just block sprayed. It's not worth the price they're asking for, let's just put it that way. So I will have this as a gorgeous display piece, but like I said earlier, I'm not going to continue collecting this entire edition. Part of me wants to unwrap this just to have like the one with my tabs, you know, open in here, but also I have very limited shelf space, so I do not need 3 editions of the Lies of Locke Lamora opened up here. So for now, this is going to go in storage. Okay, here we have an actual broken binding book that has not been opened, and that's because this arrived right before I left. So I just decided to keep it safely packaged and open it when we arrived, but this is Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. I think the 3rd book, maybe? Ooh, the edges are so pretty. Okay, so this is the 4th book, and that is To Green Angel Tower Storm. So, the 4th book. And I love Jeff Brown's artwork, so just gorgeous. There's the back, which says, "It seems, as one of my teachers once told me, that God shapes us with a hammer of pain on an anvil of duty. I cannot imagine what shape we will be when he is finished." And these are the edges that I was exclaiming about. Here is the naked hardcover. And end paper art. We love a giant dragon. And the back end papers. Now I did decide to open this one, whereas I wasn't opening other broken binding editions because I hadn't seen it yet and I wanted to. I haven't read Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, but it has been high on my list ever since we talked to Tad on Page Twoing. He's just such a kind, warm, intriguing person to talk to. He was an open book and was open to any kind of questions that we had, and just after hearing his thought process when writing this series, it made me want to read it all the more. So even though I haven't read it yet, this is definitely one of those series, again, that when I'm in the mood for some more classic epic fantasy, this is going to be very high on the list I'm choosing from. Okay, next we have another series here, which is Rage of Dragons and Fires of Vengeance, the Burning series. I'm definitely going to be putting these on my shelves. Now, this is a very battle-heavy book, which isn't necessarily always a big selling point for me. I do notice when battles are done well, so like Mark Lawrence, John Gwynne, and Evan Winter, who wrote this series, are 3 that stand out in my mind as having some of the best battle sequences ever, but it's not usually a huge selling point for me. But just something about this series, the breakneck pace with which we go forward, and our main character Tao is on a revenge quest, And he does not make the smartest decisions because he is so hell-bent on this one thing that he needs to do. And it made the series interesting because when you have a character who is not thinking logically, just thinking with rage and revenge, it goes in, they make decisions that make interesting plot twists. And then afterwards, after falling in love with this series, we were able to talk to Winter again on page chewing. And again, such a humble, interesting, just delightful person to talk to. One of my favorite interviews I think we've ever done. And that just solidified my love for this. And when Rage of Dragons first came out, it did get a lot of hype, but I haven't heard a lot since then. I know book number 3 is in the works, so I'll definitely be reading when it comes out. But if you haven't heard of Rage of Dragons, because people haven't been talking about it so much, here it is in all of its glory. I love this cover. Just something about this is absolutely gorgeous to me. Now, if you don't like battle scenes, this might not be for you. And I do think also that the side character work is a little bit lacking in this book. However, in the second book, Spirits of Vengeance, I think that Winter really ups the ante when it comes to writing the relationships between the main character and those secondary characters. Because while Tao isn't my favorite character to follow, his interactions with those around him are extremely interesting, if that makes sense. Like, he's an interesting character to see interact with those around him. You know, I kind of also feel that way about Kaladin from Stormlight. Like, as an individual character, after maybe Words of Radiance, even after the first book, after Way of Kings, or, not Way, yeah, Way of Kings. I got confused between that and Grace of Kings for a second. Even after Way of Kings, I don't think him as an individual character is what draws me into him. It's his interactions with Bridgefour and those around him that make him interesting. Tao feels that way to me. And this second book, Spirits of Vengeance, Winter does a really good job of establishing those people around him. So I really enjoyed the second installment. I know the third one is on the way. I'm not exactly sure when the release date is, but when it's released, I will be reading it. Oh yay! The final book is number 3 in the Winnowing Flame trilogy, The Poison Song. This is the one that stressed me out so much that I just had to stop reading for a while. Here she is in all of her glory, Poison Song. And this one has my favorite color, the maroon color. So that's the end of this box. So let's talk about, in summary, what have I unwrapped and what am I putting on my shelves? So first one is going to be this beautiful edition of Lives of Locke Lamora, the Winnowing Flame trilogy, the first book in Crescent City, Ken Liu's interpretation of Lao Zi's Dao De Jing, The Alloy of Law, still waiting for its fellows to be uncovered, the Burning series, Barack Obama, Promised Land, and possibly the Broken Binding edition of the Greenbone Saga in lieu of the original trilogy. Let me know in the comments down below which one you think I should be putting up here. And then for books that are going into storage, we pretty much all have Broken Binding series that I have not yet read. So that's including Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, the Lycaenius trilogy, the Powder Mage trilogy, Illborn, House of Sky and Breath, the second Crescent City book, this 10th anniversary edition of Lives of Locke Lamora, as well as these editions of The Girl in the Stars and Holy Sister. I think I'm going to put these in storage for now, because while I am interested in reading this one, finally, this isn't an all-time favorite, and I don't think it's a super high priority. I don't know, though, talking about it has made me interested. I don't know, I do think it's going to go in storage for now, but let me know in the comments down below if I'm making a mistake here. Should I prioritize this? Please let me know. That was a pretty fruitful box. I think it did a good job of really narrowing down what I'm going to try to fit on my shelves. I do have quite a bit more space available off camera, so I do have some area to work with, but I just need to be really picky right now. I'll have part 1 and 2 of this linked down below for you to check out if you would like to see what else I've unboxed so far. But don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that bell. I'd love to have you as part of this community, and I appreciate it. But for now, I'm gonna head out. Jenny!